Finally, another week of Huddle Up here on Northwest Access TV. I'm your host, Paul. I've been gone for a couple weeks due to sickness and, fractured ankles, nothing too big. To my immediate right, my host, JT. What's up, buddy?
And the guy who fractured your ankle.
Remember, let's put it into perspective. I stole the ball, and then you went back for it, and that's when it happened. So I was the hero. We have it on record. I stole from you. So
I remember the play differently.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I almost passed out, so that's fine. Yeah, not too bad, right? No, I don't ask my wife. She thinks it's a nightmare. So, but she said it's the perfect time because I don't have to shovel. I don't have to do any of that stuff. But it's nice because we've had such great weather, and we'll get to that in a second, that we haven't really had to worry about shoveling. So that's fantastic.
No, but I'll tell you that when you walk outside, the rain and sleet has caused it. You have to shovel at this point because it is like 2 inches of just slushy
right, and if that temperature dips, it's going to be frozen water. It's not good. But it is supposed to warm up.
Yes.
Tomorrow supposed to warm. Thursday's supposed to warm up. Friday's going to dip down a little bit. But I mean, I can expect there's not going to be much on the ground come Friday morning anyway.
No.
And which is good and bad news because this weekend we have the St. Albans Rec Department is hosting the Winter Carnival. On Saturday and Sunday, there's going to be like sleigh rides and games and hikes and all these different types of things going on Saturday in Taylor Park in St. Albans.
And fireworks.
Fireworks at dusk, which is fantastic. But on Sunday is what we're really excited about. No, you're not. You've been dreading this day for such a long time. Is the inaugural flag football tournament that the rec department is holding. Snow Bowl. So I don't know if we're going to see much snow. There'll be bowl, but not much snow. We've created a team. We've had a team of probably 8 to 10 of us that play at Barlow on a weekly basis throughout the fall and some of the winter because of this mild winter. We've split off into a couple teams. We're going to be playing on the so we'll have at least 2 teams there. I don't know how many teams are going to be there in general. I know I'm not even playing, and I'm super excited. So, I mean, hopefully there are other people out there that are joining it as well. It'd be really fun to see.
And if you haven't signed up yet, you are eligible to register your team up until Saturday,
I believe. Right, yeah.
So, the more the merrier.
That's what we want to see. I want to see. They said that they wouldn't mind having 6 to 8 teams, which is a good amount. I think we're probably realistically looking at like 4 or 5 teams. Which is still great because it's competition that we haven't seen before, other than the other team that you guys will be playing against.
Yeah.
So the Bill Belichick and me reached out to you and a couple other of our friends, and I said, let's form this tight little team and let's win the whole thing. And I basically picked everyone like, I want you because of this, and I want you because of this, and you because of that.
And you wanted me for a cheerleader, right?
Right. You're just the water boy because someone's got to hand me something. You have to hold my leg up the entire game.
Do it again.
So I'm excited to see how well that you guys do and how well we can do this. We have 6 players on our team, so I'll be in charge of basically subbing that one person in to see how it goes. But it's been fun to practice. It's fun to watch you guys play, and I hope to be able to join you guys on the field in the next coming weeks and stuff like that. It's a slow pace, so it'll be fun. So, I mean, it's funny. It's not football season, but we can still talk about it a little bit. There's one thing I wanted to talk about football real quick because usually it takes over a majority of our show. But obviously with no football anywhere, you can't find it because it's not on. There's one article I saw that sparked me and went, are you kidding me? And it has to do with the Denver Broncos. The management or whichever person it is in the management office, someone has come out and said, we are not worried about Peyton Manning's decision yet. If you're the Denver Broncos and currently now you do not have a quarterback on the books, why wouldn't you be worried? I get it's February, but you have a franchise that just won the Super Bowl. Are you just going to put your feet up and say, we'll worry about it when it comes down to it? Because this seems like something that you should always be worrying about, considering a quarterback is arguably the most important position on a football team.
It is, and it's not. And I think the way that I'm looking at it, and not taking anything away from Peyton Manning, but Peyton Manning last year, or this year, was not Peyton of old. And I think when Brock came in, he did a good job filling in for him. He made some errors.
He did a good job. I'd say he did an adequate. He was a very average
Yeah.
quarterback. He
Yes.
played a very decent game against the New England Patriots, and that's really the only game he actually really showed anything.
Well, for him to be good, he needs to use his height to his advantage. As of right now, he does not know how to use his height. His balls are thrown low. They're easy to hit off the line. When you're that tall, no one should be touching your balls. I mean, no one should be close to it, you know? And he throws so low that it doesn't work. So he needs to work on his form in order to progress to that starting quarterback kind of role. But I think the way Denver's looking at it right now is you're not going to get another Peyton Manning, at least not a Peyton Manning in his prime, you know? There are several quarterbacks out there that are available. Obviously, the draft coming up, they still could pick up Osweiler back. So, I mean, there's potential out there, and I think that they're saying, I guess the way that I can rationalize that in my own brain is that team has won the Super Bowl off their defense, and they feel that whoever they find to replace Peyton Manning will be as adequate as Peyton Manning is to date. I mean, because he's not that good anymore.
In recent memory, we go with Seattle Seahawks, a team that clearly won the Super Bowl a few years ago on their defense.
Mm-hmm.
And they had someone in Russell Wilson, that was obviously a growing star, a soon-to-be phenomenal athlete, and obviously has been. When I look at the two compared to each other between Seattle then and Denver now, I'm worried for Denver because, yes, they have that defense that can win you games, but you don't have that quarterback that's going to help take you there.
No.
When you saw the Seahawks the year before, you went, that defense was ridiculous, and Russell Wilson is still finding his stride.
Yeah.
So that's what I think is that's what Denver really should be focusing on. If that Osweiler is going to be that person, I'm kind of worried because I don't see the talent there.
No, and I don't think they're settled on Osweiler. I think they're exploring options. I think they're going to look around.
Who's out there that Denver would be able to pick? Because you're not going to get someone in the draft. You're the 30th something pick in the draft, and not everyone. There's no Tom Brady out there that we know of. We know that's going to be down there in the late hundreds.
No, and I mean it's interesting. It's a long off season. Who knows what's going to happen?
Sure, and I get that too. It's been only a couple weeks, really.
And I think at the end of the day, it is something that they have to worry about. And to say that they don't need to worry about it is kind of silliness. But at the end of the day, Peyton Manning's going to retire. Please, dear God, retire.
I think we all want that too. I mean, I'm someone that I look at his career and I look at him as a person like you. It's time. You just won the Super Bowl. Is there really going to be? Is everything really going to come together again where you're going to have that opportunity again? And I don't see that happening because right now is looking at odds for the Super Bowl. I love that they've already come out. And Denver's not up. Denver's not a 1-2 directive. I think they're already picking some team like, I think it was Seattle and New England again to be at the top of their of that list. Two teams that were only a game away from doing that. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, when it cut with something like Peyton, I think it's okay to say I'm hanging it up. It's good. I'm good because
it's
you're
more
not
than just football too. I mean, he's got all the controversy going out there about what happened back in college. Mm-hmm. You know, you just won the Super Bowl. You got your second ring. I mean, it's an emotional roller coaster.
Just became your father's favorite son again. Like it's just move.
I believe that he is done. I believe he wants to be done. He is old. I mean, he feels his age. You know, he feels every hit, and I think he's ready to take that step aside.
And he's not one to shy away from telling you that either, because he's done that in press conferences, saying that it's a lot tougher for me to get, like I don't see him going through OTAs. And I don't see him going through spring training, going through, preseason. A possible 19 games with a healthy Peyton Manning, I don't see. That's not in the foreseeable future. Mm-hmm. But for him to go out and maybe do I know they've done it in the past, and I know it doesn't work because we haven't seen it work in forever. is the split quarterback. You're not going to want to split time between Osweiler and Peyton Manning.
No, you need the rhythm and timing.
Right, but something like why I'm not thrilled about Osweiler, and if I was a Denver fan, I mean thrilled about Osweiler, is because later in this, you gave him his chance. He proved himself for a game, okay for another one, and then eventually gets taken out for an injured Peyton Manning, who goes in there, saves the day, and never comes out again.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm kind of like, is this kid really going to give you what you need? I mean, if I were him, I would be trying to soak up, and I'm hopefully he has, soaking up all the information he can from someone like Peyton Manning that's going to teach him. Mm-hmm. But he needs someone that is similar to his style. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking like a Big Ben is someone that Osweiler should be trying to focus on, because you're talking about this taller, bigger quarterback that can throw the ball, that's learned how to live in this league.
Yeah.
Is Osweiler that heavy set kind of quarterback? And I'm not calling Big Ben fat, but I'm saying, like, is he that thick rock?
Yeah.
No, but he's got the height where he needs to learn how to throw differently than he was.
Yeah.
Stop throwing from the ear and start throwing from the top of the head.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that are going to happen this offseason, and I mean, that's without fail the amount of coaching changes, the amount of teams that are reforming, and it's going to be an interesting offseason. It's going to be an interesting draft. There are a lot of good talent players coming in, and there's a lot of teams that are rebuilding, my Eagles included, and New England's still out there searching for that one true receiver to come in and be that Randy Moss.
2 days 2 days after they lost the AFC Championship game, Belichick's already at certain mini camps and senior practices. I mean, the guy doesn't stop working. No. So what's your prediction? Who did the Patriots pick in the first round?
No idea.
Nobody, because they don't have a first round pick. If you can remember from their whole debacle with
yeah.
They don't have a first round pick. So we'll see who they go with a second.
I think they're going to find a vet. I think they're going to find an older vet.
I think when it comes to, there was an article online that said Patriots are going to focus on offensive line, wide receiver, and defensive back. No, really? You're kidding me. Is that why? Because that's clearly on the wall, like what they need right now. When it comes to the wide receiver, I could see them doing something like a vet. And the same thing for the offensive line. I don't see them going out there and getting a young gun, because unfortunately, they are a team that usually picks very high when it comes to that offensive and defensive line. They don't have that option this year. So I could see them going to sign a vet that maybe has just run out of his rookie contract that they can pick up. Mm-hmm. What's the guy from St. Louis that just got let go? Long? Jake Long? Is that his name? The offensive tackle.
A couple people got released from. Right.
I mean, you're talking about a player that, yes, he was drafted maybe 6-7 years ago, but he's still a viable veteran that you can add to your team. Right. So there are plenty of offensive people out there that the Patriots could throw some money at, and they'll be fine. They're very good about being under the cap. And if you're an offensive lineman, why wouldn't you want to go to a team like the Patriots that at least is going to be a contender?
Yeah.
A wide receiver, the problem with wide receiver is I see two ways about it. They're going to go out there and sign a veteran that is just there to get the ring. Great, no problem with that. But the more likely scenario is they're going to go into the offseason and come out of it with nobody. They're going to do what they normally do. They're going to have they're going to have the players on that team. You have no idea where they came from, what their names are, unless you're in a 14-man fantasy team, then you know who some of these players are. And that's what scares me, but that's been the norm. I mean, other than Randy Moss, who was kind of that roll of the dice, you haven't had that from the Patriots. And we're talking Randy Moss, we're talking 2006, 2007, or 2007, 2008. Like, that's a long time ago for that to be able to happen. So, I mean, 8-9 years ago was when the last time they really rolled the dice on a veteran, because I'm not even going to count someone like Chad Johnson, that he really wasn't. You weren't paying him anything, and he was a bust.
Yeah.
As far as the defensive back, Belichick does this better than anybody, where he finds these talents where no one takes a chance on them and they're able to develop. I mean, simple person is Malcolm Butler, an undrafted free agent that is, a Super Bowl hero and played phenomenal this year in defensive back. So, I mean, you have one of those. That's one of those examples where he's going to do that no matter where he is in a draft or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, they always find their players one way or another.
Right.
So
Yeah, I mean, like I know. So we'll stop talking about football. I know it's a big thing we like to discuss. One thing we can talk some college basketball, just for the most part. You brought this up like maybe a few minutes before I said, oh, let's talk a little college basketball. And yeah, that's actually how much prep work we do. We literally sit down and go, what do you want to talk about today? And we talk about it. You can also call in to the show, 802-527-6449. We're going to talk a little college basketball. We were saying, let's talk about how there's no clear number one. Usually every year you get that number one team or that team that is just so good. You're like, all right, that's the team you're going to have to beat in the tournament. This year, it's just the rotation of the top five.
Top 5? Top 25.
Exactly. It doesn't stop.
No, it doesn't at all.
Because I have some teams that I'm favored. Like, I like watching Duke and I like watching Michigan. Neither team is spectacular this year in any way, but they keep dipping in and out of the top 25. Mm-hmm. And then so I went, okay, well, what other teams have done that? Everyone has done that. Mm-hmm. The only team that really seems to have that core group is a team that can't even go to the tournament this year in Louisville.
And even then, they've gone up and down. I mean,
right.
they played a good game against Duke last week. And then you look at who's in the top 5 right now. Kansas deserved to lose that game last night against Baylor, who is 19th ranked. And, I mean, Baylor kind of fell apart a little bit at the end, but, I mean, Kansas just squeaked by on that. You know, you look at the ACC in itself, which any true college basketball fan is going to say that the ACC owns college basketball at this point in time. The amount of schools that they have that are going to the tournament and or are capable of winning the tournament is just unfathomable.
Right, and in the recent years, that really has been the case. The ACC has a majority of, like, their conference rather has a heck of a representation in the tournament.
Well, in the past 3 years, I mean, with the shift from the Big East teams coming into the ACC kind of got rid of the teams that weren't so great.
Right.
So now you've got the best of the ACC and the best of the Big East in one conference. I mean, Syracuse not able to go to the tournament either. They are a dangerous team and who have upset several teams and they lose to nobodies, but I mean, that's how this season's gone. And what I found funny is I'm a big Duke fan, but regardless, they talk about where they predict the teams to be, and they always show like their best wins and their worst losses. When you pull up Duke, they don't have a bad loss. They've lost to good teams, and not even by a big number. They're also down 2 star players. They're playing with a 6-man team. That's a college ball. How do you do that? I mean, it's hard to survive. And they're doing that without 2 good players. And they beat UNC. They've beat Louisville. Was it Clemson that just fell to... No, it was Virginia who lost. I think Virginia lost to Clemson the other day. I mean, the ACC is just a giant shift of who's on top. You've got Villanova technically as the 1 seed. They've lost 4 games this year. They have a bad loss. They don't look. They're good. They look good, but they don't. You can't watch a single game of any team and say they're the best team. I mean,
I think that's really what's going to make March Madness exciting this year. And I haven't watched a lot of basketball, but I've at least kept on tap of standings and records and things like that. So when I looked at years past, I'm going, these were 5 teams you could say, yeah, either one of them could be in the finals, Final Four. This year you don't have that. You don't have those teams. And that's what's going to make the tournament very interesting, because normally you'd be able to go in there and go, okay, number one's probably going to get to, Sweet 16 type of situation. Now it's like, maybe not. They're probably going to win their first one, and then they might have a tough game. And these teams that are number ones, at one point or another, they were number 5s, and they were number 4, they were number 6s. So, in rankings throughout the season. So I'm not too apt to just say, okay, all number 1s in the Final Four, which has happened before. I think it happened last year.
It's happened the last couple of years.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I would almost guarantee that there's not going to be a 1 seed in the Final Four this year. I just don't see it.
The problem is I can't picture, the only team I can picture, because that's the one that keeps standing on my head, is Kansas, because they always seem to be, at least, while they haven't been like a 1 or 2, either maybe they are 2 now, I'm not sure, but they haven't really been outside the top 10. They haven't been outside the top 10, I don't think, the whole year. They've always been in that little mix. And that's a team that's like, okay, yes, people are bouncing all over the place, but they're kind of staying.
Yeah, they're not going crazy
bottom
distances.
Right.
You know, and a lot of people look at UNC and go, they're the best team, and they surely can be. I mean, they have the talent, they have the size, they have the shooting. They're very good, but at the same time, I mean, they're just not that much better than anybody else. Michigan is hung in there or Michigan State, I should say.
Michigan State, yeah.
Has hung in there all year long. You've got Duke, who started in the top 5, dropped out of the top 25, is now down to 15, and has big games coming up. Who knows which team from the ACC is going to be a 1 seed, because who knows who's going to win the ACC tournament? Mm-hmm. You've got Villanova, who still has to win out. There's just so much spread of talent. Who knows who's
right?
gonna
There's
win.
not that one dominant team. So, I mean, we're talking. We have the conference tournaments coming up very soon. March Madness following that as well. But I had 2 things in college basketball I wanted to chat about. One, which we've talked about before. We were talking about, I think it was at the NBA All-Star game. At one point, it was LeBron on Kobe, and LeBron does the whole slamming of the court thing. Did you see what the Ohio State player had done? His name's Deshaun, I have it written down, Deshaun Tate.
I didn't.
Okay, so they're playing, I'm going to forget the game, the team they're playing. I know the kid's name. His name's Ty Webster. They're one-on-one. Close game. Ohio State, I forget who their team was, and he does the whole slamming down. As he's going down, this guy, Ty Webster, goes past him. So completely like, whoa, dude, like, that was dumb. You should never have done that. To take it a step further, this guy, Tate, re-injured his shoulder doing that, and is possibly out for the rest of the year for Ohio State. And it's just one of those things that it's like both sides of the fence. We see someone like LeBron do it, it's really fun and playful. Then you see this college player do it, and you're like, what an idiot.
Well, I think it's 2 different types of play for starters.
Sure.
I mean, we're talking about, would LeBron do that in a real game? No, he won it.
Players have. Players have done that in a real game.
Yeah, but I mean, let's truly look at it where that was a one-on-one challenge for fun and entertainment.
Absolutely.
And we're talking end of the year, pretty much, let's call this playoff time, because it really is. Every game matters. You can't be doing stuff like that. And not only that, but you're in college. You first off haven't earned the right to say I'm that good.
And you're not the number 1 Ohio State team in the country. You're an Ohio State team. You're also doing it knowing full well that you have a shoulder injury, and you're slamming the ground as much as you can. And to just put the cherry right on top, you got beat.
Yeah.
You got caught with your pants down and couldn't recover from it, and the guy ends up scoring. I just thought that was funny, nice little story. The other one, and this might get into a bigger discussion, hopefully, is Shaq had just come out and was talking about the one and dones in college. And he was specifically talking about Ben Simmons for LSU. Obviously, LSU, Shaq is an alum of LSU. And Shaq was talking about the one and dones, and he goes, I was out shopping with my mom, and my mom handed me the checkbook and says, balance this. And he looked at her and says, I can't balance this. And she said, in layman's terms, then you're not ready to go to the NBA. Here's what I'm suggesting, and I know it's going to be completely controversial on either way, is that with these one and dones, if they're going to be one and dones, stop chalking up this whole, I'm a computer science major, I'm a communications major, I'm a this major. If you're going to go, I'm almost on the fence of if these players want to be one and dones, then that entire year they should have 100% perfect attendance in class, but for classes and lessons that are going to prepare them for life after basketball
like
and after
economics
college.
and that kind
so
of stuff.
when I say economics, I'm more on the lines of like taxes, checkbooks, because you have these players that come from, it's sad, but they come from families that aren't well, aren't wealthy. They're coming on scholarships to play these games. But if their overall goal is to get to the NBA or to get to the NFL, teach them something along the way, because you hear all these rumors and speculations that these kids, they don't go to class, and I'm sure most of them are true, sadly. But if that's the case, let's revamp their curriculum. And it sucks to put them on a pedestal and say, all right, this is our #1 star basketball player, and instead of him having to go to random classes, let's put him in these special classes that will at least prepare him for life after college. And honestly, I think every college player should have to take these types of classes, because I wish I had taken a little more. I had taken a interview and it was an interview and resume class my senior year or my junior year, and I'm glad I did, because it helped me open doors to jobs after I got out of college. But there are a majority of college students that don't do that. So once they get out of college, they don't know what direction to go to, and that's what I'm getting at with these players. That if you're going to let them come in and take these classes, these bogus classes that they're not paying attention to, they're not really earning a degree, and they don't have a desire to earn it, at least make them take classes that is going to prepare them for life after college.
No, I agree. And I was listening to all of them, Shaq, Kenny the Jet, and
Barkley, all that.
Barkley, they were talking about one and dones, whether it's good for the game, bad for the game, whether you should be able to come out of high school. And I think the one way that I look at it is, I agree with you. If you're going to go to college for 1 year and leave, then I agree. You should take things that are going to benefit you, how to deal with money, how to manage your money, how to maybe a business class on how to, when you start getting into the class of
heck, a marketing class. So
exactly,
so when an advertiser comes to you, you know what the heck they're talking about.
Yes. But at the same time, I look at it as, are one and dones bad for the college game? In some ways, yes, and in some ways, no. I remember in 7th grade, our wrestling coach came up to me and asked me if I'd be willing to try wrestling. I said, sure, why not? And at that point, I weighed 85 pounds, maybe soaking wet. I was a little kid. And they asked me if I would take what the heck did they call it? Maturity test to see if they would allow me to play varsity, if my body was mature enough to go to the varsity.
Because you're in 7th grade.
Because I was in 7th grade. And so you had to do all this stupid crap and a physical and all that stuff so I could do that, which I passed, and so I wrestled varsity from 7th grade on. I can see something sort of like that when it comes to basketball. If you are prepared and ready out of high school, I have no issue with you going straight to the NBA. I believe it's a risk to go into college, the risk of injuries, the risk of all that stuff. You think about somebody like how Kobe Bryant did it. I mean, he didn't need college. LeBron James, he didn't need college. There are athletes that do not need to go to that next level before they make the big jump. There are some players that absolutely do, and I think there are some players that...
But I think that there are players that are doing it now. They're doing the one and dones, and they just shouldn't have. They shouldn't have done it in the first place, because what they're doing is they're wasting their time, and they're wasting the college's time. They're wasting the fans' time, because there are players that go for these one and dones, and it's like, why was he even in college? He should have just went to the NBA.
Exactly.
And obviously, it's not for everyone. We discussed Kobe Bryant and LeBron James. There's not going to be... I mean, those players are once-in-a-lifetime type players. They're once-in-a-generation type players. So, I mean, and I think, I would hope that the NBA and their 30-whatever teams have a better head on their shoulders than to just pick off 5 high school players every year and say, yep, you're on our team now. They have a sense where, I mean, how many high school players right before LeBron James were drafted, and you still talk about them today? You don't. So it's like...
There's only a handful.
Right. So the NBA has proven that in the past they've had a good head on their shoulders and a good eye for talent like this, where they're not just going to pick up any high schooler.
But that's why I also get to the idea of that maturity test. So if you have to do that in high school sports to prove if your body is ready to go to the next level, then why not have a maturity test and say whether your brain function is capable of making that jump to the next level?
I kind of compare this to the NFL in a bit, where you have these players that willingly, absolutely willingly know that you are more than likely going to have an injury that's going to affect you for the rest of your life, but you want to play professional football. Same thing for NBA. If you think that you're going to be the greatest of all time, and knowing that a very small percentage of players actually go on to greatness out of high school, if you want to take that leap and try, that's your prerogative. And that's why I think that it's fine for these players out of high school. If you think that you want to join, go right ahead. And when your dreams get crushed on draft night and no one picks you up for your D-League, you better start applying to college, because apparently you weren't as good as you thought you were.
No, and when I look, so as you know, I'm a Duke fan, and I look at their teams, recent one-and-dones, Jabari Parker, Kyrie Irving, who's the other kid? The other tall center, plays for Philly, got in all the trouble this year.
Okafor.
Kyrie Irving.
I got one. Ha! I never do that.
Kyrie Irving. He was an amazing talent from the minute he hit the court at Duke. He got hurt.
Still is.
Well, off and on, yeah, when it's not bed bugs.
The Hilton, by the way, apologized for that.
Yes, I saw that. Jabari Parker got into the NBA, got hurt, is healthy again, and playing great. One and done is not necessarily a bad thing, but I think there's also a lot of players that are one and done that still aren't ready. When we look at Steph Curry's little brother, Seth Curry, he wasn't ready yet. I mean, there was no reason for him to make the jump out of college after a year. He should have stayed. Coach K, when you work with certain coaches like a Coach K or old Coach Calhoun or a Boeheim or a, who's the guy for Kentucky? Calipari. I mean, these are people who are used to coaching one-and-dones, who know how to prepare you for the next level, both emotionally, physically, and mentally, in all aspects of being a man as well as being a ball player. There are things you can learn. You don't need to make that quick jump because they're not going to risk your future. Not one of those coaches is going to go, I'm winning the title this year, you're going to play whether you're hurt or not, you got to get in there. No, these are all coaches who have coached pros in one form or another, whether it be USA or coached in the pros. And they're legacy coaches. They're all Hall of Famers. They're all fantastic. Learn and grow before you make that jump. You see all these guys who go up who just choke and choke and choke and choke until they finally can catch their stride. Also think about Doc's son, Austin Rivers.
Yep.
He wasn't ready to make that jump yet either. He was really good.
Yeah,
but he needed room to go.
He was a talk around of college basketball. When you talked about Austin Rivers, you knew everyone kind of knew who you were talking about. And again, making that jump. Are you ready? No. There's just I honestly think it's a waste of time. If you have no if you have the NCAA in college football, I think almost has it right in a sense where I think you have to play 2 years of eligibility, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's 2. It might be even more. It might be 3. They have eliminated the one and dones because a player, there's no 18-year-old is going to go into the NFL and dominate. It's a completely different sport. And I get these players have to progress, they have to get stronger, they have to get bigger because it's again completely different sport.
When you're playing against a 30-year-old who has twice the muscle and
right, you're not going to go from playing a bunch of peewee kids in high school to going against the greatest in the NFL. You need that development time. In basketball, it's a whole lot different. You can be that high school player that just kills every kid that you've ever seen and go into the NBA, do okay for the first year and develop from there with your teammates. We've seen that. It's a proven method. It has happened before. But I like the way that the football does it in college football, because they basically say you're not going until you've done at least 2 years of eligibility, because that way, regardless, you can at least get an associate's. And I know that's a big point for them, is that you can get an associate's in 2 years. Yeah, are you going to a D1 school? You're walking away with only an associate's? Yes, but it's still a degree.
Yeah.
It's something you can hang on your wall and be proud of. NCAA basketball doesn't take that approach. They can tell you all they want that they're in favor of players getting their degrees, but in hindsight, how often does it happen where the number 1 through 10 pick in the draft leaves college with a degree? Never. It doesn't happen.
No.
And do they go back? Sometimes. But if you
Most
took
don't.
the last 10 years of top 10 picks, and and 100 of those 100 players, how many of them have a degree right now? I bet you it's not a handful of them.
No.
So that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that it's a waste of time. If this player is that good, if someone like a Denzel Valentine or a Ben Simmons is tearing it up in college basketball, I don't know if Valentine's not a freshman, if I'm not mistaken, but if someone like Ben Simmons, that's the only person anyone's talking about, that he's going to be your number 1 pick next year, why is he even playing college basketball then? Let him go into the he should have went in the pros out of high school and see what he can do, because players have been able to go in there and do what they're doing in college. I just think it's wasted, and it's also another scholarship player or a person that could be going to college that's only going to play in basketball in college because that's as good as they're going to be.
Yeah. Well, the other thing you can think about too is NBA's got its D League. So if you want to come straight out of high school, why not say you're starting in the D League? You're not getting instantly drafted. You're not getting thrown up there, but get into the D League, prove yourself in there, whether it be for 10 days. I mean, if you dominate in the D League, after a couple of games, who cares? You're proving yourself against an elite amount of talent.
I would be okay with an all-star break type of thing. You get drafted, you play in the NBA for if you come out of high school, you have to play a half a year in the D League to prove your worth. If you can get and that's also to make sure that you're developed, because by all-star break, you've already been out of school for a year, out of high school for a year. But if things don't work out and you get cut, you have that year to develop in college and go back and play in college. But that's the other thing too, is that, and looks like we have a phone call. So thank you for joining Huddle Up. Who we got on the phone today?
My name's Dan. I'm actually Paul's younger brother. He asked me to call.
Oh, hey, Dan. What's up, buddy?
Oh, hey.
Thanks for calling. You are our first legit caller, I think, of Huddle
I don't know
Up.
if we could totally classify your brother as a legit caller.
Well,
although we'd appreciate it.
Not yet anyway, right. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, that's true. We got to start small. Are you excited for this weekend for the Winter Carnival Flag Football Tournament?
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Did you buy your gloves last night?
I did.
What did you go with?
I got my cutters.
Okay.
I took a recommendation from Paul, but I had to go flamboyant, so I brought bright orange. Why not?
Hey, I like it.
Attaboy.
I hope you're better than your brother.
I would put you above me, not the size wise. I mean, I'm the only defensive and offensive lineman we've ever had on our.
No, and I never liked it when you rushed on me.
No one ever does. So everyone's kind of. I think the other team's kind of excited that I can't rush, because that's all I would do the entire time anyway. We're talking college basketball, Dan. We're talking one and dones. If you got something you'd like to add to the conversation, we'd love to hear it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I saw that. I was actually happy that JT touched upon the D League and the NBA, because that's the point I want to talk about with like some of the lesser known sports like baseball and hockey, how they have programs or they have drafted out of high school and then they go play college baseball even though they're affiliated with an MLB franchise.
Right. I think what I like about something like the D League, and I guess I can kind of compare it to baseball, is that if you're going to get drafted out of high school, baseball is a sport where that happens. You get drafted out of baseball, but you never see that 18 or 17-year-old that plays for the Yankees or plays for the Red Sox right off the bat. They kind of have to go through the rankings, and I like that about baseball, that they do that to develop these players. Yes, do you get your Bryce Harpers every now and then that play when they're 19 years old? Sure. But you don't. It's again another once in a generation type of player, and I think that the NBA could develop something like this where you can draft out of high school, but you have to put in your time and you have to develop as a a player and a person, and like JT was talking with a maturity test to prove that you're ready to play against the best in the NBA.
But it's not just play. It's mentally prepare yourself
Sure.
for the adult world and everything that comes along with being a superstar on that stage. Because if you are the person who can come straight out of high school, you are looked at as a superstar right out the get-go. And that's a lot of pressure to put on a 17, 18-year-old kid. So it's more than just
But that's
proving
where I get.
yourself
But that's where I get back into that,
talent-wise.
where that's their prerogative. If they want to do that and they think they're mentally ready, all the power to them. But I don't want to hear them complain later on that I wasn't really ready. No one really prepared me for this. You prepared you for this.
Yeah.
You said you were ready. So don't go blaming someone else.
No.
That's why I'm fine with the one and dones. But don't waste my time as a college fan playing for a team that you don't really care about. You're only doing it for the one person.
Well, at the same time, I think I kind of blame the franchises in general too. Like I'll isolate this to the NFL and the NBA. You see these players on the college stage where they're blown out of proportion to be the next best thing, no matter where you play, whether it be a Ben Simmons from LSU or a Buddy Hield from Oklahoma. They're expected to be the next best thing, and they need to fulfill those expectations. And more often than not, you see them crack under the pressure. Whereas the MLB, you get a guy like Bryce Harper, who's 17, he's the best next thing out of baseball. You need to take the time to develop as a baseball player, so you play through junior college, you play through the minors, you go through the ranks, and you play with the worst of the worst to develop and get the patience down to eventually become the next MVP.
Right, and I see that with the NBA where they only have one league, and the NHL they only have one league. So I mean,
But they don't utilize it for that.
No, they don't. They really. I mean, when I look at the D League, it's more like the babysitters club of the NBA. I don't really have a spot for this kid, so we're just going to put him here, and I don't know what they're doing.
Like Jimmer Fredette, who just got signed off the D League.
Don't get me started on Jimmer Fredette. I'm so excited that kid is playing in the NBA right now. I can't even stand it. I covered
Yeah,
him.
who's he playing for?
Huh?
The Knicks.
Who's he playing for?
He's playing for
Kings?
the Knicks, baby.
The Knicks?
Yeah, the New York.
They
yeah.
signed him on a 10-day contract.
They signed him up. He scored his first points the other day for the Knicks. You're talking about a kid that lived in Glens Falls, New York, went to it was at BYU, gets drafted, and now finally gets to play for his team that he loved to watch growing up as a kid. That's a feel-good story in itself, and I love it. That kid's got range like Steph Curry range because but he doesn't make it all the time, but he still shoots from there anyway.
Yes.
Dan, since you're on right now, one thing, you're big into video games. One thing I was just reading on Deadspin was NBA 2K16's coming out, or has come out, and they were very confused and undecided how to develop Steph Curry's character. And the reason being was because they ran his character and his performance through 50 season-long scenarios, and the athlete, actual Stephen Curry, scored more points per game, more assists per game, more rebounds per game than the computerized version of Steph Curry. Can you just give me your thoughts on like what kind of player this kid is that a computer-generated program can't even fathom how well he's doing?
Well, if I had to categorize Steph Curry as one type of player, that'd be an improviser. I mean, he makes things happen on the court that even a computer can't even fathom making. I mean, like you see the shots he makes on the court, you see the passes, the visions that the passing lanes that he envisions in his mind before the defense even realizes what's going on. I mean, he can make those plays happen, and I don't think a computer can even keep up with the 1,000 or million different types of scenarios that a NBA player like him can develop.
Right. I think they called the executives at NBA for the I don't know what the company's called. They called him a rule breaker because he's a player that he'll make a shot and the computer literally goes, I don't know how that went.
Yeah, you're not supposed to make those types of shots. Like, we didn't program you to make those shots.
Well, think about
or to
just
make those passes.
If you look at just a statistic, and I was going to bring this up when we started talking about the NBA anyway, there are 27 games left for Golden State. The record for 3 points in a season is 287, set by Curry last year. He's 27 away from breaking that record.
So you just take a 3 a game. Make a 3 a game.
And he's
And you break
making
your own
like
record.
6 or 8 a
Right.
game right now. I mean, this guy's going to murder that record. And as a computer, how can you predict that? He set the record last year, which everyone was going, that's a high number, and he's blown it away.
Right.
And I mean, he's not cooling off. I mean,
no, in any way, this team, they're 50-5. It's so funny, by the way, that we talk more about Golden State than we're talking about the other side of the country right now. And we have a team in Boston that's fourth in the Eastern Conference and actually doing pretty well. But Golden State, 50-5. The odds, what are the odds that they go 23-4? It's got to be pretty 100%. Good, right? Because they don't lose 2 games in a row. They're 20. They have to go 23-4 to beat that record by 1 game.
27 games left, 17 at home.
Wow.
They haven't lost at home. They have 17.
But then, Jay, then you have to remember they still have to play San Antonio 2 or 3 times.
They have to they play San Antonio
and
2 more times.
And this is the part of the season where San Antonio remembers, hey, we're a playoff contender every single year, no matter how much we want to fly under the radar. They don't have 10 losses yet, do they?
No.
I don't think so. Everybody's counting them out already.
That's insane to think about. That if Golden State wasn't even in this picture, everyone would be going, San Antonio is your NBA champion. But because these teams, and the best part about this whole thing is that they're both in the other conference. They're not in the what is it, Eastern and Western Conference. They're both in the Western Conference. This comes back to our NFL playoff scenario where, like, I want to just see the Arizona versus Carolina, and obviously I don't think it's going to be the same thing. But when the Spurs played Golden State the first time, didn't someone not play?
Duncan didn't play.
Duncan didn't play. Parker hasn't been 100%. Mobley hasn't been 100%. I mean,
I don't think Mobley played the whole game either.
That's just the trend of Popovich's mentality. Like, he'll sit his starters, and he has no rhyme or reason behind it other than we're going to give him a rest.
But the thing that I find interesting is when I watch that game, now minus I am definitely a little biased because I'm not the biggest Spurs fan, and I really like Golden State. But when you watch them play, in order to play with Golden State, you have to play small ball. Spurs went out and signed Aldridge. Then you have old man Duncan, who they're both very good players, but that's not playing small ball. These guys can't guard the three-point line. So the guy who didn't play, and Aldridge, I don't see them benefiting you any. They are very good, and I think they are the best chance to beat Golden State, but I don't see them beating them. I mean, maybe 1 game out of a series if they actually play each other in the playoffs, which I doubt it.
7-game series. I don't see how you can bet against Golden State.
I don't think you can keep up with their athleticism.
No.
They're younger. I mean, that's an easy one. Spurs are an old team, but the one thing I will say about the Spurs is age really means very little. But with all the teams that are changing to play small ball with Golden State, the Spurs did the opposite with signing Aldridge. I think they made it harder for themselves because if Golden State plays small ball against a lineup with Tim Duncan and Aldridge at the same time, who's guarding who? I mean, do you really? Because if I was Golden State at that point, I'd take Bogut out. I'd leave Green as my 5 and play true small ball.
Right.
How are Duncan and Aldridge playing the three-point line?
I think when it comes down to player on player, that's not what I'll be impressed about if these two teams play in the NBA Western Conference Finals or whatever it is. I'm more leaning to it's not player versus player. It's Golden State versus Popovich. That's how I'm looking at that. Can Popovich manage this team?
It's old school versus new school.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And this is a classic case of that. And I hope it comes down to it. And I don't see how it wouldn't. There's not unless you have this spur of the moment push by the Thunder to be able to go up against. But that's also another team.
The Thunder's out. The Thunder's done. I mean, you can't even rate them as a top Western team because if Durant goes down or Westbrook goes down,
that whole team's done. Right.
They're done.
Exactly.
They're out.
Right. As opposed to Golden State, where we've seen throughout the whole year, when someone goes down, more people step up. It's nuts that this team is so young and so talented, and that you put any one of these 3 players between Curry, Green, and Thompson on any other team, they're a number 1.
Yeah.
And like we were saying earlier this year, it's a big 3 without meaning to, really.
Oh yeah. And let's add in the fact that I think one of the hottest teams and possibly the most dangerous upset team
Los Angeles Lakers.
is the Western Conference.
Los Angeles Lakers.
Is Portland.
Portland.
The Trailblazers are small. They are gifted shooters. They can play big ball. They can play small ball. They are good passers. They're a dangerous team. And Oklahoma City, Durant and Westbrook are great. They're just not that good, which is why Durant is gone next year. What are your thoughts? Because at the end of the day, everyone has said it's a 99% chance Durant is at Golden State next year.
I don't think he'll take the pay cut. I think he's one of those players that's going to go out there and still get the money. However, I could see him still going out west to a team like Los Angeles, getting paid pretty big by the Buss family and taking over that franchise.
I don't know how he wouldn't jump on the opportunity, but at the same time,
we say that all the time. We say that all the time. Like, why doesn't this player just say, "I'll take $3 million less and go win a championship"? We don't know why they do, but that's always seems to be their decision.
The one thing that I thought about when reading that article, as much as I think it would be insane to watch that team with Durant on it,
you could have them as the All-Star team.
Yeah,
that could be your All-Star team.
It is.
Against whoever. Pick one.
But I love Golden State's chemistry. I love the way their team plays. I don't like the way Durant plays. Durant is a one-on-one kind of guy. Golden State doesn't play that type of way. So I would almost dislike seeing him go there because I like the style of play they have going, and it works for them. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Dan, I appreciate you giving us a call here on Huddle Up.
Yeah, of course. So anytime I can get a chance to talk sports, it's always an opportunity I'll take advantage of.
Absolutely, and we look forward to seeing you in a couple days.
Oh, definitely. You'll see me. I'll be out on the field. I'll try not to show anybody up too much, but I can't make any promises.
I've been talking you up way too much, man. You better show up. It will not make my rep any better if you come in.
So you want one-handed catches then? Is that weird?
I want you to catch. I don't.
As long as you catch the ball, I don't care.
Yeah,
I want to be able to throw the ball to you.
We have some players that just it baffles you, man. It baffles you. So I've been talking you up. I said, no, this kid's he's got hands. He's faster than I am, which isn't a surprise because everyone else is.
That's not saying a lot.
Right, not saying much at all. But no, I'm looking forward to it. And I mean, JT has full confidence in me when I'm playing out there, and I told him to have the same confidence in you. So it'll be good. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be a good time. I'm sure you won't have anything to worry about. I'll be able to fill up those shoes.
I hope they've created a trophy because I can't wait to host it on Sunday.
Yeah, we'll make our own.
Yeah. All right, buddy. We'll see you in a couple days. Thanks for calling.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show, guys.
All right, bud.
Bye.
Yeah, I love it when my brother can call up, talk a little sports. We don't get to do that very often. The whole NBA, the 50-5 Golden State. I love it. This is what's so good about basketball right now. And one thing I wanted just to touch on really quickly about basketball, was really good, is that dunk contest during the All-Star game. The entire time that not the All-Star game, but the All-Star skills competition was going on, everyone is saying, this is why the three-point contest should be the final thing of the night. This is why it should be the final thing. Then in comes, was it Alex Gordon? Am I wrong with that? Am I saying the right people? Alex Gordon and Zach LaVine.
Yep.
Oh my word. I had so much fun watching these guys literally try and come up with stuff off the top of their heads. And the dunk contest is usually, and I had said this, it's usually something I'll watch. Well, I'll go, I'll watch the first dunk, and then I'll go, I got to see it in replay because I don't know what just happened. This time, these guys spent so much time in the air, you could see it in real life.
Yeah.
I'm sitting at home, I think this is 2 weeks ago, so maybe I just done this to my leg? I don't remember. Whatever. I'm sitting at home, I'm watching it, and I'm jumping up, and I'm screaming, and I'm doing, oh my, it was so much fun to watch, and I don't know how Alex Gordon lost this.
I'm curious to know if LaVine can jump from the three-point line and dunk. He looks like he can fly that far.
They kept saying, because he kept taking off from the free throw line, and they kept saying, "Oh no, his foot was on the line." But we're like, I don't care. The last person that attempted to do that was Dwight Howard, and he didn't even come close to dunking it.
No.
He threw the ball in. So the fact that Levine did it twice with a foot on the line all day.
Yeah.
I love it. I could watch someone dunk like that literally all day.
Oh, it was great.
When Gordon went up and he's actually in a 90-degree angle, his feet straight out, sitting, going over a mascot who's on a hoverboard and dunks it. Like what? Like you watch it and you're like, was he just sitting? Yes, he was just sitting.
Yeah.
And that was the last one that he had made where they were like, all right, now what do we do? Then you just had guys literally going, what have I done in practice, or what have I always wanted to do and try and do? The only reason I give Levine all the credit and say, yes, he should have walked away as champion, even though that Gordon sit-down dunk was the most ridiculous thing I've seen in a dunk contest in my time actually watching, Levine never missed.
No.
Every dunk he attempted, he made. And that's First try. That's what I mean. Every time. So that's the only reason I would say, I think he deserves to win. Meanwhile, the three-point contest was really just as exciting. And the most fun I actually had throughout the three-point contest was Draymond Green versus Kevin Hart.
Oh, that was entertaining.
That was super entertaining. And the best part about it was that he tied him.
I know.
That Kevin Hart's shooting, and at the same time you're getting someone like Barkley and Shaq making fun of him the entire time. Oh, roles reversed. Then all of a sudden here comes Kevin Hart, and he sits down with the panel, and all he's doing is making fun of everybody. So I loved it. I thought Kevin Hart took a while for me to come around. When he first came out, I was like, I don't really see the fascination with him, but it didn't take very long. I think I saw him in one movie, and I was like, this guy's really funny. Mm-hmm. Started watching him more. I love him, and he is a perfect ambassador for the NBA as a non-player because he gets
loves
along
the game
with everybody. He loves the game, and he's a comedian.
Yeah.
He has a lot of fun. And he really always seems to get along with everyone. And that's what I loved about this whole three-point contest with them, is that I never really expected that. I'm like, oh, they'll shoot like a rack of balls. No, they did the whole round, which I thought was just fantastic. And I hope that we get to see more of that.
I agree.
'Cause I know he played in the celebrity game. He's played in the last 3 or 4 years. This year he was going to be a coach, and then he ended up coming up and playing anyway.
I was mad I missed that game. I totally forgot about the celebrity game.
That's not my favorite celebrity game. My favorite celebrity all-star game is the softball game during a baseball.
That's good too.
I'm a big fan of that because they bring back the old players.
Yeah.
And they get the pop stars and all those types of things. I always like that. Real quick, we have the Academy Awards coming up on Sunday. I wanted to get your input. Favorite sports movie and why? We have a couple minutes.
Favorite sports movie. Wow, that's hard.
It's very tough.
I'm going to go with Remember the Titans.
That's what I was going to say. I hate that. I hate that we're a little more in sync than I want to be. Because that's one of those movies I can watch every time it's on. It's so well done, and give Disney all the credit in the world to that, because they usually take these stories you don't hear about, and they put such a fantastic twist on it to make a great movie. That movie's great from beginning to end.
I agree. And let's go a little bit further than that. Gridiron Gang was fantastic.
Okay.
And I
a little
loved,
less known with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Yes, the true footage that you get to watch when you buy the DVD or anything like that, because that is another true story, is amazing. I mean, they did a good job portraying that movie to the facts of the real story, and it is an emotional hit, and it's real life for kids in the system and trying to make something better for themselves. I thought that was really well done. But there's a million of them.
Not a million. Like I said, we're running out of time. We only got a couple seconds left. I'll go with another great one, Rudy, because if Sean Astin can act, I can do anything.
Yes.
I'm Paul. He's JT. This is Huddle Up. We'll be back next week with another episode, and hopefully you'll join us. Give us a call. Thanks. Hey sports fans, Paul Snyder here, programming coordinator for Northwest Access TV, here to tell you about a couple opportunities that we have here going on at the station. The high school sports season is always a busy time of year. From the ice rink, hardwood, diamond, or gridiron, there are just way too many games for us to cover alone. That's where you come in.
Tobin with the ball.
Over to Mark Connor. He wants it, won't take it. Harvey will. For
That's
three!
We're looking for volunteers with a passion for sports that want to get involved at Northwest Access TV to help record the games in Franklin County. Whether it's from behind the camera catching all the action or simply lending your voice as a play-by-play announcer, we need your help.
Baseball pass. Shot taken. Misses. That's the game.
So contact Northwest Access TV today to find out how you can get involved. 802-527-6474 or email us at info@northwestaccess.tv. On Northwest Access